Card-sized chunks of birch and alder wood, and between you and I they're an absolute nightmare to work with because they're only about 1 millimetre in thickness and they've got the same consistency as damp blotting paper when we dig them out of the ground, so you can imagine not easy things to work with. However, if you can get them out of the ground intact, what we do is we take a photograph with infrared. And because the Romans have been using a carbon-based ink, the infrared photography brings the script back to the surface so you can start to read them. And for anybody involved in researching the northern frontier, I mean, they're absolute dynamite. They give you people's names, dates, places, and exactly what they thought about living up here. So just to run through a few of the best ones with you, we've got a few now of what they call renuntii. Now those are a specific kind of daily strength report, usually written by one of the junior officers to the commander to let him know what all of his men have been sent to do. And one of them in particular was absolutely fantastic. A little bit of wood about that big, and it gave us the commander's name. He was called Julius Veracundus. It said he was supposed to have been in charge of 752 soldiers, but it went on to say that over half of the garrison were missing. And that was a bit of an eye-opener. We thought, that's all very well and good, but we're not quite as warlike as we first thought up here if they're only at half strength. And what are all the missing men doing? Well, luckily it went on to list it. So we've got 42 of them, it says, are guarding the governor. We've got another 18 men that are burning limestone to make cement. We've got another dozen that are building a bathhouse. We've got a one called Amabilis who's in charge of a temple. Another one called Luco who's in charge of the regimental pigs in the woods. And so forth and so on. So, you know, the level of information you get absolutely blinding off them. But I think probably the most famous one that we've ever found here was actually a birthday party invitation between two of the commander's wives on the northern frontier. Really, really human document. It was written by a lady called Claudia Severa. Now, we know a little bit about Claudia. She was married to a chap called Aelius Brocchus, and he was the prefect in charge of a fort called Briga. And although we don't know exactly where Briga used to be, it must have been relatively close to Vindolanda, because that family there were really good friends with our commander here and his wife. Our two, they're called Flavius Cerealis and Sulpicia Lepidina. I mean, it's a bit like a bad TV soap opera here at 2 and 3 and get to know these people. And this document just says, my dearest sister, my dearest soul, you would make my day much more enjoyable if you would come and help me celebrate my birthday party. Now, two things going on in my mind from that. One, the sentiment hasn't changed one iota in nearly 2 millennia. I mean, quite incredible, really. But the second thing, I don't know about you, but that indicates peaceful conditions to me up here when that was written. Because if the commanders are happy enough to have their wives and families living right at the edge of the empire with them, and not just that, but they're letting them go backwards and forwards between the forts for something as daft as a birthday party. I mean, they must have been fairly happy they weren't going to come to any harm on the way there and back, I think so. Indicative of the peaceful conditions, we think, as well. So you got documents like that. We've even got a little glimpse into what the Romans thought about my ancestors, the native Brits that they bumped into up here, and they were calling us the Britunculi, and that translates literally as the wretched little Brits. Short answer is, didn't reckon much to us around here, and it says I don't think much of these wretched little British. They don't even mount their horses in order to throw javelins, which, you know, not the done thing in the Roman army by the sounds of it, so that was quite a nice one as well. So you got a couple of the more important ones, but to be honest, most of them are talking about the little details, the daily bits of life about living in the fort, and in many ways they're way more entertaining. The very first letter that we ever found here actually mentioned Roman underpants of all things to kick off your account, and it says I've sent you a couple of pairs of socks, some sandals and some sublagario, some loincloths or undies across the Vindolanda. Now that just conjures up a mental image to me, to somebody standing up on the top of the hillside there in January when the weather really is bad and the wind's whistling up his tunic, and somebody's basically sending him a Red Cross parcel from home with extra kit in it. Really quite nice. And then the Dutch characters that we had, these Batavians, well, they did an absolute disaster. They'd run out of beer, and one of them had written to the commander of the fort, and he'd said, my lord, the men have run out of beer, I demand that you order some more be sent. Which always amuses me no end, that it's not please can we have some more, but I demand you order some more. Shows you what was important to Roman soldiers personally, and well, I was dead lucky when I was about 15. I'd only just started working here as a volunteer. I was digging in between where the wooden tower and the oak tree are there, and I managed to find a complete letter still stuck together. And I've got to be honest, even at Vindolanda that doesn't happen all that often, so it's one of those moments in archaeology where the hairs in the back of your neck stand. Right, what's this going to be? Please be the first mention of Christ that makes my name. Needless to say, it wasn't. It turned out to be a military stores account. It listed things like cloaks made of bark and leather wash bases, tents and curtains, shoes and spears. But it also gave us the price of beer. And apparently for one copper ass, a little copper coin about the size of your thumbnail, or a really small change to the Romans, let's call it about £2 for argument's sake, apparently they could buy 5 gallons of beer with that. It's like my idea of heaven that is today. That was £2, so it all changed a bit. But anyway, just with a few examples, you'll see lots more of these in the museum, but hopefully that's enough to illustrate that when we're digging in the anaerobic dirt and you get these documents coming out of the ground, the place really comes delight. Brilliant archaeology.